Episode 66 of the Unscripted Company Podcast, one of the fastest growing podcasts on the internet. We got viewers in the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Germany, all across the world. I'm coming off of a long night passing a kidney stone. Riley, how are you doing this week?
It's been a week, man. It has been a week. And a kidney stone, you say?
Yes, man. It was a long night, long, painful night. Let me tell you what, you wake up, you have some urges, and duty calls. But yeah, it's been a week, man.
Never
It's
had
been
a
a
kidney
week.
stone.
I don't recommend it. Stay hydrated, kids.
Yeah, I always do this. So I don't drink sodas or anything else besides water, tea, coffee, or juices.
Hey, man. Coffee's a guilty victim of this as well. Anything with minerals in it. Minerals build up over time.
Yeah.
It happens. But yeah, drink your water. Stay hydrated.
Drink your water.
Got a question of the week for us?
I do. If you suddenly learned your entire life was a dream, would you try to wake up or stay asleep?
It's time to wake up, Riley. It's time to wake up.
I would immediately wake up. I would immediately wake up.
I was actually thinking about this today when I was driving on the highway. I was like, you know what? What if this is all the dream? What if it's time to wake up?
What if it literally is the Matrix and we're just, until we decide to try to come out of it. So it's like we're literally just living in a simulation.
Or what if the real you is really just at a Chuck E. Cheese right now, and they have this like VR headset on, and this is the game.
It's like that Rick and Morty, like where you go to like, I can't remember the name of the place that they go. It's like the giant arcade. And it's like they have like a simulation where it's like you're literally living out the entire life of the character in the game. But it's like it's so real, essentially. So
I remember there was one where, and maybe this is the same one. I forget because I've watched them all. I've slept since then.
Yeah.
I remember there was an episode where Morty ended up living out his entire life, and it was pretty good life. And he lived to old age, and then I think it's like right when he died, or right when his wife passed. I think like way old age. He gets pulled out of the game. Like Rick pulls him out of the game, and it's like time to go, Morty. And Morty is like devastated because he's trying to grapple with the fact that.
Yeah, I think that's the same. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it's him because I think it's just an actual. It's a different character that's in the game, but it's like you're essentially playing that character all throughout their life, essentially. And so, but yeah, that's. Sometimes, like, I wish that was the case, and I wish I could just pull the helmet off and just let me out of here.
So what was the question? I kind of glossed over, like, what was the actual question?
If you suddenly learned your entire life was a dream, so, like, everything that you've lived up until now, would you wake up? Would you try to wake up, or would you stay asleep?
Probably stay asleep. I don't know what the alternative is, so I'm fairly content in terms of, like, I know the outcome. I don't know what the other side of that coin is. I know the current reality as it stands. At least I know within my realm of what's in this room. You don't know
what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes.
That's true, but I don't know what happened in the last 31 years in the other reality. In this current existence,
maybe it could be a Rick and Morty. Like maybe you're interstellar travel, and
maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah, it could be, but.
Are you saying you would wake up?
If my current life as it is now, yes. Yes, I would. 100%.
Okay.
I would. Okay. But if it's like any other like awesome, amazing time of my life, no, I wouldn't. It's a very situational thing. I feel like it's like you could just pull that cord anytime you wanted to if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Or you just run out of quarters and that's it.
That too.
What if you don't even know? What if when you hop out, there's no memory or recollection of this?
Then at the end of the day, that is what it is.
I haven't actually sat down and watched it yet, but have you heard of the show? Oh, and I'm going blank on the name now. It was that show that got really popular on Apple TV. Ben Stiller wrote it.
I never even had Apple
Severance?
TV. So.
Was it Severance?
I have no idea. I never had Apple TV, so I don't know.
Well, I never did either, but this movie, it's the show. Sorry, I say movie. Here, let me throw up my screen if I remember even how to share my screen here. This show, Severance. It got super popular recently, and I guess for context, I haven't actually watched it myself, but to my understanding, you have the situation where you have this cast of characters where they have their life outside of work and they have their life inside of work, but they almost do like a conscience swap where whenever they go into work, they're still them, but like a different version of them. But that version of them doesn't know about the version outside of work, and vice versa. The version outside of work isn't aware of the version inside of work. And it's kind of a whole, metaphor on how in a typical office job, really any job, but I guess more so in an office job, you have like the persona of yourself in the office and how that's probably a different persona than it is outside of the office. But this is a reality where you don't know your existence inside of the office, and inside the office, you don't know your existence outside of the office.
That sounds awesome.
So I say that being, what if this is that VR game? Every time you go to sleep, you go experience your normal life, because that's when you're putting down the headset, but you don't know the existence of the other reality.
There's so much that we could unpack there, but that
we're
would
going to
be
spend
cool,
the
though.
next 6 hours doing this. So this is our extended TED Talk.
Yeah, I ain't got time for all that, but no, that'd be pretty cool though. Like I could go, like the real estate me doesn't know the personal life me.
Maybe.
Like I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I would 100% be okay with that. And like the switch would just flip, so it's like I wouldn't have to deal with my own personal personality. I could just deal with just the real estate me. So
Yeah.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. How's everything else going this week before we dive into the news of the week?
Nothing much, man. I just went to a conference for counseling because I'm about finished with that, and
Yeah.
otherwise nothing else really.
Yeah. Oh, well, sometimes nothing is the safest bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It indeed is.
Did you see, and this kind of relates to real estate, this kind of relates to just about everything going on that involves money. Did you see the big news from this week? I say week. This was yesterday, or was it this morning?
It was this morning, I think.
It was yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It was yesterday. The big bomb that went off across kind of the world of economics. Warren Buffett stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway.
I gotta say, it's not like to me, I don't see it as being a huge deal, because one of two things was going to happen. It was either he was going to step down or he was going to die as the CEO.
That is fair. I mean,
that was one of the two choices that the man had at that stage in life, and he's already accomplished everything he ever could accomplish in life.
That is true. He is 94 years old. He has basically been with Berkshire Hathaway since he purchased it in 1965. Berkshire Hathaway, for those who didn't know, started off as a New England textile mill company. And over a span of like 6 or so decades, he transformed this small little textile company into basically one of the largest companies on the planet. That is the parent company of Geico, a railway company, countless other like household names. Ran this company out of Omaha, Nebraska, of all places. I mean, we could spend hours talking about Warren Buffett. I think a lot of people think of him as the granddaddy of them all, the Oracle of Wall Street, in a sense. The dude just has a killer mantra of just, you buy it and you hold it and you just never let it go. And he's had some killer picks over the years. Apple, Bank of America. I mean, heck, Geico. A lot of people don't realize he owns Geico. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and yet the insurance is trash like it is. Thanks, Buffett.
I know. That's the whole thing, is I think a lot of insurance these days is kind of trash.
I don't even know why insurance is even required anymore on anything, because they never want to pay the claims out. They never want to. And I'm like, what's the point in having the insurance if they don't have the money to fund the claims? Because the money has to come from somewhere. Oh, wait, it comes from all the people that pay for the insurance, but they don't want to pay it back out. So it's like, cool.
Speaking of money, a lot of people have been wondering, before Warren Buffett's big announcement, what does he think is coming economically? Because Warren Buffett, via Berkshire Hathaway, has been sitting on a treasure trove of cash that they've been accumulating over the last few decades, saving it for a special day. What that special day is, we are yet to know what that day is, but starting in 2015, they had about $63 billion in cash on the books. Fast forward to early 2025, they now have $348 billion in cash just sitting there waiting. Waiting for what? I think we
Recession.
can. I think so. I mean, Warren
That's
Buffett,
the only thing. Yeah.
yeah, Warren Buffett's one of those guys that he likes to buy low and sell high. And I think he knows a lot of things are on the highers of highs and just kind of sitting around waiting, waiting for that moment to strike. He can swoop in with, think about that, $348 billion in cash on the books. It's a lot of cash.
He's gonna go buy every home in America and rent them all out.
I don't even think it's going to be that. I think he's going to go in and swoop up and not buy companies, but buy shares of companies. Because Warren Buffett, funny enough, I didn't actually pull this up, but the reason he announced his retirement and the reason all of this has been in the news is Berkshire Hathaway had their big annual shareholders conference where Warren Buffett and the board, they have their giant press conference basically. And it's kind of wild. It's like in a whole arena of people. Let me look this up. Omaha. Because it's like, we got to remember, this is like Omaha, Nebraska. Like, look at this. These are the people here to watch Warren Buffett speak at an annual shareholders conference for Berkshire Hathaway. Announced his retirement and expanding everything. So, I say this because where was I going with this? Oh, one of the things he mentioned at this press conference or shareholders meeting was how difficult it is to buy and sell real estate in comparison to buying stocks in terms of the easeability to find buyers and the easeability to buy and hold over long periods of time and still be cash flow positive. So it's kind of interesting, just his take on the whole thing. But I will say, I mean, he is like, what, 94? I know we said this a second ago. He knows what he knows, but we do live in a different time period now. And I mean, I don't know what the stock market's going to do. I don't think any of us know what it's going to do, but I know we've talked about it in episodes past. It seems like something's going to happen sooner than later.
I'll be honest. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens.
That's what I keep wondering too.
Because they keep putting it out there, and it's like the housing market is probably the worst that the housing market's ever been. Like, I think even worse. I don't want to say worse than 2008, but it's like it's getting there. Because with the amount of inventory that we have, you would figure that prices would be lower, but they're not because of all the tariffs and everything and the new homes and stuff. And so people still can't afford to buy. People still can't afford to buy their groceries. We've talked about all this before. But I wouldn't be surprised if something just actually just doesn't happen and we continue on this trend of just everything just keeps getting more and more expensive. And it's like, I've seen movies and like, you've seen movies and everyone's seen movies like this, but like just kind of an example that I want to use, the movie Ready Player One. And in the beginning of it, the main character, he lives with his aunt and his uncle, or his aunt and her boyfriend or whatever, and they live in this place called the Stacks. And the Stacks is just a bunch of mobile homes that are stacked on top of each other, held up by steel framing or whatever the case it may be. And to get from the very top to the bottom, you have to go down staircases. And my point being is, what if nothing actually does happen and everything just keeps getting more and more expensive, and then all the people who make $40,000 or less or $45,000 or less just get completely priced out of everything, and we're forced to live in what's called the slums because we can't afford what we can afford. And like, think of like, what's that movie, Elysium? We have all the rich people that go and live up on the place or whatever, like the really, really fancy place, and everyone else is just stuck down here who can't afford to go up there. I could see something like that, and like I could see in an alternative universe, that being the case with us, because people just get priced out of everything, and we can't afford what other people who make six figures a year, or people who are millionaires, can afford.
Should we
Kill
make an
everybody? Yes, I'm
Airbnb?
kidding.
Should we make an Airbnb concept where we take mobile home trailers and we stack them, maybe 4 or 5 high? We can call them the stacks. We can put them, I don't know, just outside of Waco somewhere. We can rent them as Airbnbs and make
Nobody would pay
stacks
for
of.
that.
I don't know. What if you make it like a glamping situation? What if you're glamping in stacked up trailers? Have you seen these new glamping parks out there that are like on Airbnb and stuff? People pay money to go glamp.
Makes me sick.
I know, but why not just stack up some Winnebagos?
Go camping.
Why do that when you can go live in the stacks, man? You got water, electricity. We'll give you HBO. You can have basic cable.
But
No Wi-Fi. That's the glamping part. No Wi-Fi, but you get basic cable and air conditioning. No bears.
Well, no bears that the people on the upper levels would have to deal with. People on the bottom levels would have to deal with it.
That's an upsell. You have to pay an extra $50 a night if you want to be on the higher level where no coyotes, no bears, no crazy guys with chainsaws addicted to meth running around. Think about it.
True, very true.
Yeah.
I could see that as being like not necessarily like something like to that, like, you know, the stacking of the mobile homes or whatever, but it's like, you have to think, we already live in a country where they say that, you know, where you're technically, like, I've heard people say this before, and I'd have to do more research on it to actually know if it's true or not, but they say that if you make more than $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the country.
I think it's 1% of the world, right?
No, they said I think I've heard Dave Ramsey say it, and he said if you're,
I think it's like 1% of the world, and then once you do, I think it's like 100K, 100 something, then you're 1% of the U.S., right?
I could be wrong, but I've heard him say, I think, in the country. I have to go back and find the video, but
Yeah.
I don't want to pull up his videos right now. But it's just, again, we live in a country where, you know, everything is still semi-affordable.
Yeah.
But if the tariffs, which we haven't heard much more about that, apparently Trump decided to lower the tariffs on China.
He actually, like, kind of minutes before we hit record on this on May 4th, by the way, May the 4th be with you, Riley. He put a 100% tariff on movies filmed and made outside of the United States. So Hallmark Channel, I know you film all those movies up in Canada and Vancouver, those tariffs. Hallmark Channel is about to go up in price.
Yep.
So all those moms out there that watch the Hallmark Channel around the holidays, those movies filmed up in Canada are about to get way more expensive.
Yeah. So with all of that happening, you know, let's just say that we have a lot of manufacturing here. Let's just say they decide to bring a bunch of the manufacturing back over here, like, because the tariffs are too expensive. They don't want to pay it. Some things we'll have to get from China and everything, you know, like circuit boards, like different aspects like that. There are certain things we'd have to get from them. Let's just say majority of everything comes back over here. Cool. You create more jobs, but you're not getting everything as cheap, because you can get everything for pennies on the dollar over there, quote unquote, and sell it for what you sell over here and make the profit. Well, to make that same profit, you're going to have to increase the price drastically. And it's like, you know, people are still, I don't even think anyone even really buys cars anymore that are new. People just lease new cars. They don't buy them, but car dealerships, they have cars just sitting on the lots. Nobody can afford to buy them. So they just sit there. I think Chevy, GMC, and all those, like, they have a huge recall on a lot of their vehicles because the engines aren't worth it.
Yeah, I saw they had to, like, recall, like, not every, but like all the major models. I think it was from like 2023 to present.
Yeah, it was like the GMC Sierra, the
Tahoe,
Silverados, and for good reason, because these were still technically COVID times ish. So it's like, I wouldn't buy anything that was made during that time period at all, or lease anything that was made during that time period. Again, my point being is I could see a world where we actually don't have a recession, It doesn't happen because unemployment's still at 4.2%, even though they said, hey, we created 170,000 jobs. No, you didn't. You just brought back all the jobs that they got rid of in the previous administration. So you didn't create jobs. You might have created maybe 10 to 20,000 new jobs, maybe that, but everything else was just brought back. Unemployment's still at 4.2%, which is still pretty high compared to what it was. I mean, I'm not going to use COVID times, but pre-COVID times, I think it was down in like the twos, like 1 to 2%, and now it's still it's getting up there. And so it's, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, you're good. One thing that actually came out that's kind of relevant to what you just talked about: Temu no longer shipping product directly to the U.S. because of tariffs. So they were using this tariff loophole due to the price of product, so they wouldn't have to actually pay the tariff on it. But now that that loophole is no more, they are no longer shipping product to the U.S. So for all those, I don't want to call them drop shippers, whatever grouping of those individuals that have like TikTok shops and Amazon shops and I don't know, Shopify drop shipment sites where they're selling this rinky dinky crap for pennies on the dollar, but they sell viral products. The days are kind of numbered for some of these, at least for the time being. I have a feeling this won't be a super long term problem or thing to worry about. Could be. I don't know. But
we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but Temu seems to no longer be in the U.S. market, at least going forward.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely I mean, people are going to be feeling the effects. That's the thing. They're going to be feeling the effects of a lot of this stuff. A lot of things are going to happen. A lot of people's businesses are going to be affected. And that's kind of where my concern lies, because people who have small businesses or even a business as a whole, like, you own the business and you run the business because it's something that you feel passionate about. That's why you do it. You know, speaking from myself, you know, being a real estate professional, like, I enjoy doing it. Can it get a little stressful sometimes? Absolutely. But I still enjoy doing it. But people out there who have small businesses that rely on their materials from other countries, you know, to get the cheaper shipping, and so like they can still at least make a profit off of their stuff, so they don't have to raise their prices. They do well enough to be able to survive off that, but if they try to go get a job somewhere else that wouldn't pay them the same as what they could be making running a small business, but yet their small business can't survive because prices are going up on a lot of their stuff. Like, this is the thing. It's like large companies just need to start paying their people more, and they need to quit using the whole, like, we don't have the money. Walmart has the money. Target actually just lowered their CEO's salary. I don't know if you saw that. They just cut their CEO's salary.
Would it go from like 750,000 or 5 million to 1 million? What was even worthwhile?
I mean, let's see. I think it was. Hold on.
We go from 32 million to 19 million.
Let's see here. Okay.
And while you look it up, if people out there listening, go to target.com/unscripted company, use that promo code at checkout, and let me know if it works, because we don't have a promo code.
Let's see here. So so I thought this was actually more recent because I saw something on it today, but I guess it was not recent. But hold on, let me just see. Let me just double check something. But it says Target CEO Brian Cornell earned $9.9 million in 2024, down 87% from his compensation, peaked at $77.5 million in 2020. His 2024 pay was down.
Wait, are you saying he went from $77 million to $9 million?
Yeah.
That's wild. He had to have had like bonus structure in there or something.
I don't know. But
I saw
something
swing.
Like, I saw an article today when I was just scrolling on some stuff, and I couldn't remember where I saw it at. But
if I could make $77 million a year, I would work 1 year and instantly retire and just
100%
done.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I would invest the rest of my money and do all kinds of startups and other things that I wouldn't have to actually work, and I'd hire people to work for me, but it's making money.
It's like you have that magic number where it's like, if you can get a chunk of change, and I forget what the number is, And then a number changes, of course, with like the cost of goods going up. But
Mhm.
it's like if you could, it's like get to like I don't know, it was like 1.3 million, and if you throw it in a stock or an ETF or a mutual fund that can give you like 5 to 8% returns, and you just live off of that as your like annual salary basically going forward, and like you're set. You don't have to work. That's the whole thing about like when you get just rich enough and you're wise about how you spend and allocate your money. It's like you never actually have to work because the money is giving you
I
enough
think
money to
about it every
live.
day, and then I just get more and more depressed because I like in my mind I'm like, if I could just make this
Yeah, because if you put $1 million in something that could give you an 8% return, now that's pretty decent return. I'll be honest with you, but
in today's time, yes.
that'd give you $80,000 a year
I don't
in
even have to. I don't
returns.
even need $80,000 a year.
I know, but wouldn't that be nice?
It would be 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like I said, like I think about that daily. I'm like, if I could just make like for the next 10 years, make $100,000 a year and invest a portion of that into an ETF or a Roth IRA and like do two of those every single, like one for me, one for my wife. After those 10 years are over with, and we put the max amount, which I think is $7,500 a year into Roth IRA, if I max that out every single year, like I don't even think at that point, like I would just let it compound for the next like for for however long after that, and the rest of the money I could just put into stocks or whatever the case may be. Essentially, I would never have to work after that 10 years. I would never have to work again. I could literally just do real estate as a luxury, as a leisurely thing if I wanted to, and it blows my mind, and I'm like, why can't I just get there? Like if I could just get there, then like I could literally retire by the time I'm 45
But
and
with the
never have to.
Roth IRA though, you can't pull that out
Yes, you can.
without tax penalties.
Yeah, you can.
A Roth IRA?
I'm pretty sure you can because I have the papers somewhere, but I was
Like a
talking
Roth
to a
IRA, I could be totally wrong, but like a Roth IRA, 401k,
so
like
the
it'd be
the normal
65, right?
the
Before you can,
normal IRA, I think. So there's multiple ones, but I'm
yeah.
pretty sure a Roth IRA you can pull it out because it acts as like another checking account or savings account. You can pull it out without it having being tax deferred.
Mm,
I'd have to find the paper somewhere, but I have a paper somewhere that talks about all these different that talks about these
let's see
because you
here.
have you have your ETFs, you have your Roth IRAs, you have your 401k, there's like one other thing.
To withdraw earnings tax free and penalty free, you must be 59 and a half years old and have held the Roth IRA for at least 5 years. If you withdraw before that, you're subject to earnings
Yeah, so 5 years.
taxes. Yeah. But you also have to be 59 and a half years old.
See, I don't remember them saying like, there
No,
was
that's a
another.
for sure. Like that's the whole idea of the retirement accounts. They want to hold your money and go reinvest it places. Like when you give money to a bank, the
Well,
bank goes
yeah,
plays
yeah,
with the money, right?
yeah,
So that's how they make more money. Is
right.
if we tell the American people, hey, you got to store your money here, but hey, we want to hold on to it for the next 50 years. Like, you know,
Yeah. Well, either way, in my mind, I'm like, I could retire by the time, I'm 45, but still have that income coming in. And hopefully by the time I'd have like other things going on. So it's just like, I'm just generating income, but I'm not really doing anything per se. Like, I'm
yeah,
still working behind the scenes, just handling things that need to be handled, but I'm not doing anything. And so, like, again, I look at that every day and I'm like, why can't I just, because like I hear all these stories and all these people that I watch videos for on YouTube. They talk about how it's so easy just to lock in. And I'm like,
yeah. It's so easy just to make a YouTube video and sell you a lie.
yeah. And
That's what I'm saying though. Remember, they're also selling you something by making that video.
yeah,
The people that are super successful most of the time probably aren't going to make a YouTube video and telling you how they did that.
yeah,
Okay.
they're not. Or if they do, they're going to tell you without telling you.
Yeah.
And they're going to just say, like, these are a lot of the things though that I've seen these people that talk about though, because there's a couple guys that I've watched and I do actually enjoy their content. Like they talk about, here's like, what I did over the last year that kind of got me to this point. And a lot of it is just like disciplinary things that you have to do yourself to get there. So it's like
Yeah. You got
set
to
yourself
do.
set yourself to a strict schedule. Be in bed by 9 o'clock, wake up at 5 the next morning, or some people wake up at 4 the next morning, go to the gym, like spend your time, writing, scheduling out your day, like all these different things that, go into that. And it's like, and some of them, like they're successful in what they do because they public speak, like they have all these events. Like some of them do try to sell you a product, like a coaching or something like that. And I'm like, no, like I don't need the coaching. And that's why I've like looked into like, like, okay, I can use AI to build an app. Now, what would that app look like? How would this app work with this? Like, there's all kinds of different things you can do nowadays, but it's just like some people make it seem so easy to get there. And I'm like, it's not though. Even though we live in a time period where we have infinite choices as to what we want to do in life, it's not easy to get to that point though. Like it's going to be a lot of hard work that you're going to have to do, a lot of sacrificing that you're going to have to do to get there.
Well, yeah. I mean, as with most anything else, if you want to become an expert at something and get compensated for your expertise, like it's not easy to become an expert in anything, whether that be plumbing, computer application, sales, skydiving, I don't know, whatever that thing is. Like you got to put in the time and the effort on it. You can't just give it 6 months and hope for the best. Like, fun fact though, Warren Buffett eats McDonald's and drinks Diet Coke. So, everyone's got their own cup of tea and it seems to work out for them.
I guess so, man.
Some of these old timers that make, more money than you and I can even comprehend, they drink Diet Coke like every day of their life, if not 5 Diet Cokes every day. So it's just kind of a weird thing where it's like some internet bro is going to tell you something because he made a bunch of money on crypto, cashed out, and he's selling you a fake story that's not real. Like, yeah, I mean, you can, I don't know. I could get on a soapbox about this, but it's like a lot of people that make the content about it. There definitely are some legitimate people out there. Don't get me wrong.
I'll show you the 2 people.
There's also a lot of people selling you a narrative as well.
I'll show you the 2 people I'm talking about.
Oh, we're about to put people on blast here.
So here's one of the guys. Let me find him real quick. And yes, I have a lot of people that I subscribe to.
Yeah, but you gotta be mindful. Can't play Alex Hormozy is like day one. I know exactly. I know his whole life story. That's fine.
Yeah. So and we'll have to talk about that. But it's like I like him. I like some of his content. Like I've watched it.
Do you know his life story though? Do you know how hard he worked to get where he's at today?
I don't.
Okay, the dude slept on the floor of his gyms for the dude went from basically having everything to food stamps for a while and worked his way back up. Him and his now wife, they busted their butt to get where they are. So it's like you need to sit down. You need to sit down and hear him be interviewed on like a lengthy podcast and to truly understand kind of his story.
Yeah.
It was not an easy climb to get where he's at today.
Yeah. And that's why I would always see his videos. I'd watch a couple of them. And then I was like, am I subscribed to him? And I realized I wasn't. And I was like, why am I not subscribed to him? Because I've heard some of his videos. I've watched some of it. I'm trying to get in a mindset of like, when I watch videos like this, I don't want to just watch the video, but I want to take notes on the video as to what he's saying, if that makes sense. Because it's like, I want to, and like, I know he's got podcasts and stuff like that. Like he goes on podcasts, he talks to people and stuff like that. I know this is like pipe dream kind of stuff, but in my mind, I'm like I love real estate. And
you're trying to manifest it is what it sounds like.
So like, well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, you kind of have to, like, if you want to achieve a lot of things in life, you have to speak it into existence. Like that's part of what a lot of these people talk about. And I'm going to get real for a second. Okay. I feel like we don't do that enough on here. I'm going to get real for a second. We'll get back to everything else. So I love real estate. Real estate is something I enjoy doing. Again, sometimes it is stressful because you never know when you're not going to see a compensation or commission for a extended period of time. I see a world where like, I'm not like him by any means, because everyone has their own story. Everyone has their story of where it is they get to. But I would love to see a world for myself where it's like, this is what I'm doing for a living. Is like publicly speaking, podcasting, but not. And I'm not saying he's just selling someone something, because I mean he's got books and stuff like that. I actually think I've got his book, that the $100 million offer. I think I've got that book. I don't remember where it's at, but I think I've got that book, and I got it from my my church, because of like the people that own the property, they do a lot of business stuff with people. And so I think that they have that book. I say all that, again, I say all that because like I could see myself in a world where it's like, you know, public speaking, you know, podcasting, like traveling, all these things, not to sell somebody something, not saying that again, not saying that that's what he's doing, but it's like everything that I've learned, I can help people apply it to their lives and help them grow something. And that's what a lot of these people do, because at some point you're going to have the next generation of those people that are doing that. Not saying he's going to retire anytime soon, but if he wanted to, he could retire, but that's not his goal. His goal is to impart as much knowledge as he can on as many people as he can before that time does happen. And so kind of moving forward, that's kind of what I see. The other guy that I watch is this guy. I don't know if you know who this guy is.
I've definitely seen, I don't know too much. I don't know his like life story or anything, but I've definitely seen his videos pop up. I definitely just scroll right past them. But
so his life story, I think he said from like 20 to 24, 18 to 24, something like that. Like he was addicted to drugs, like all this other kind of stuff. Went bankrupt at 24. He literally picked up a book from like a garage sale or something like that, or from his friend's attic or something. I don't know. Essentially, it was a book on coding, and he taught himself how to code on like a very, very old computer. And he essentially just took that skill set and just like, you know, took it with him. And I bought this book. I have this book. But he kind of I will say some of his videos a lot of the time tend to be, because he does have products that he sells, like, you know, books, but he also has other stuff that he sells.
yep.
But he talks a lot about some of the stuff that he talks about. I will say it seems like he reiterates on a lot of his videos. I like his mindset when he goes into it and he talks about the stuff, but at the same time, that's kind of like his thing. Again, like I try to find a lot of people like that I listen to and everything. But that Alex guy though, I'm gonna start watching a lot more of his videos to kind of learn more about him as to how he got to where he's at.
Yeah. You just gotta be careful, like with those type of, I'll call them content creators, because that's really what the definition of it is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful not to find yourself in this trap of, it's very similar to doom scrolling, you know, when you're scrolling through negative news and you're loving it and you can't get enough of it, but it's like you get a weird dopamine hit from it. You don't want to find yourself doing that with business content also, because you can sit there and consume countless hours of business content. Don't get me wrong. Been there myself, done that. You want to make sure that you're actually doing something if you are acquiring that information, and you're not just sitting there running in circles and then you wake up a decade later and you're like, I haven't done anything with this. Like, what's happening? There's a real world outside of the internet also.
I was just thinking about that the other day, because like, not saying he does this, not saying Alex does this, but
that's the thing is you have to understand, like, Alex has already lived it. So it's easy for him to talk about stuff because he's lived it. Now, it's also easy to consume it, but then what are you going to do with that information?
Well, that's kind of what I was like, because I had like, it wasn't even like an epiphany, but I was thinking about that the other day, because I was like, what if people like this make videos like this to get you just to watch the videos and tell you how this could be done, but then you want to go watch the next video and the next video and the next video.
That's like 98% of it. Just so you know. That's like 100% what's going on there.
And then you never actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
But all you're doing is just putting more money in their pocket at the end of the day.
Yes.
That's all it is.
That's the hustle. That's literally what the hustle is.
Yes. And it's not like it's just like a him thing. I mean, he has his wife, he has his production people, like all this other kind of stuff. So it's not just him, but he's
done actual companies. Like he does acquisition.com, school, stuff like that. Like he's a legitimate entrepreneur. He's been there, done it, stuff like that. But that whole genre of business self-help, it's 100% a hustle.
Yeah, it is.
There's definitely diamonds in the rough, and
that's why I don't like, as far as that Dan Martell, like I used to watch a lot of his videos. I slowed down on watching his videos because not because I didn't find any interest in them, but it's because there was at a point where I was like, I feel like he's saying a lot of the same stuff in the same videos, and he's not really like providing the information.
thinking it through, and I've thought this through before, but I've never actually really vocalized it. I think what a lot of these creators are doing is you have a generation, and I'm not saying it's a singular generation, but you have a generation of people who grew up and were sold a dream about go to school, you'll get the office job, the corporate, enterprise job,
Yes.
and you'll love it. That's the key to success. And then a lot of people get there and they're like, hang on a minute, this isn't what I thought it was. I feel empty inside. I feel lost. What's my purpose? Because their job, their income doesn't give them purpose in life. And so they're seeking out, well, how do I become financially independent on my own? How do I find meaning for myself? And so these guys are there selling a vision. They're selling a dream. And while yes, some people can synthesize the information passed on to them through these videos and books, etc., and apply that to their life and become successful in other ways, I think the vast majority of people get sold this dopamine hit and they never actually really do anything applicable with it. And then they just find themselves kind of the same way that a druggie's just looking for the next hit. They're looking for the next piece of content to give them that financial freedom dopamine hit.
Yeah, that sense of belief, like I can do this, and then you don't. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I haven't felt like that before, because I do believe like a lot of these videos, like they are there to also help motivate you in a sense. Like again, a lot of it is just a lifestyle change. Like you have to be willing to make the sacrifice. You have to be willing to cut things out of your life to get to the point where you can be that successful person. And what worked for them, what people also have to realize too, is what worked for them isn't going to work for you. So it's like, if you take basic principles and start implementing those principles in your life to just change your habits, like going to the gym every day, eating healthier, spend time reading, like don't just, and not, when I say reading, I see all these things now on your phone that people can just like, they're like, download this app to read books faster and to do all this. I get Audible's a thing, but I'm like, I need to have a physical book to read, and I'm going to set like 30 minutes aside every single day to try to read 30 minutes to an hour a day, just reading. And I can use AI to also to transcribe the book and everything, but also to want to highlight the book. I want to highlight key points in it, make notes on it, all this other kind of stuff, because you're not just getting the stuff from a screen. You're getting the actual physical book. You're taking that knowledge that someone has wrote in that book and you're using it to apply to your life in a sense. And not every book is going to hit that way with you. I have so many books like over this past year that I've gotten that like I'm slowly working my way through them, but I just bought 10 more freaking books from the counseling conference. And granted, these are a different genre of books than business and self-help, but these will actually help me in counseling people. So it's like, I bought them for a good reason. They were on, really good pricing and everything. But my point being is like, don't just consume stuff for the sake of consuming stuff. Consume stuff for the purpose that it's going to change you and change your perspective on everything to get you from point A to point B. Because again, if you're just consuming all these videos, now it's okay to like, if you're at like the gym and you're working out and you just need something to listen to. I mean, podcasts are for that reason. Like you can consume it on a podcast rather than just watching a video on it. You can listen to it. And if anything resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, cool. But it's also a matter of you have to convince yourself that things are possible rather than having someone on a screen tell you that you're probably never going to meet in your life. So.
Yeah. What else you got? What else you got for this week?
I saw you had some stuff too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to go into something if you want. Have you heard the whole thing going on about 100 men versus a gorilla? Have you heard that whole thing?
I have. And in the video that you're probably about to show, I literally watched that video today.
Oh, you did watch it? Okay. The 10,000 gorillas versus 1 million men. So just a quick get everyone up to speed here. There was a viral question that went around social media. Who wins in a fight between 100 men and a gorilla? I'll let everyone else debate what the answer to that one is. But 10,000 gorillas versus 1 million men. Is this the video you saw, Riley?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know who wins?
I do know who wins.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening and watching, put your answer in the chat now. Honor system. You haven't seen the video yet. We're going to see who ends up winning this contest. It's the ultimate challenge. 10,000 gorillas and 1,000,000 men. What is that?
Although I don't think it would go exactly like this with people
Oh,
just
no, this
flying
is
everywhere.
real. These are real people and real gorillas. Don't you dare question the authenticity of this fight we're about to experience here. This is a real head-to-head, 1,000,000 people in a desert. Maybe this is the surface of Mars. Running.
Like the people just fly.
That's the pure strength of a gorilla, man. The gorilla will throw a man 100
Now,
yards into the air.
the real question that it never got answered in the video that when I watched it today is because they usually never all they show you is they just tell you who wins. I want to know if any gorillas were actually killed in the making of this video.
Somewhere. PETA is very upset about this video. I appreciate that they did do a time lapse on this. We're getting close to the end, so for those of you who haven't put your answer in the chat yet, do it. Do it now. I will say it's not looking too good for humanity because they are just kind of flying around.
If you've ever seen Planet of the Apes, this is what would happen.
This is exactly what would happen, unfortunately. Okay.
Hey, see that? I didn't get to see that. Men
Yep.
total eliminations, 14 gorillas. So they
Yep.
only killed 14 gorillas.
Yep. 14 against 9,986. Kind of crazy. Another video for you here. Straight out of China, apparently earlier this week. Over 10,000 drones. Oh, sorry, I say China. Vietnam. It's a Chinese company. Over 10,000 drones light up the sky in Vietnam. Look at this. These are individual drones putting on a show in the sky over a major city. So you can actually see what these drones look like here.
That's cool.
Now, here's what I think could be fun. Unscripted company could do this. We can start a GoFundMe and we can raise money. And I think we should send one of these over the Amazon rainforest above those uncontacted tribes and let them think the gods of the sky are there for whatever reason. And we do this for a week. And then we just disappear. Could you imagine not knowing that these were drones and seeing this in the sky? Hover over a major city. Imagine this flew over Dallas, Texas. Imagine this flew over New York. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Look at this. Also, great entertainment option. I don't know what you do with all these drones after the event. Like, how many trucks do these drones fit in? It's a 10,000 drones. 10,508 drones in Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah, see, I don't know, man. Like that, if they were a little bit more like closer, like uniform together, like because there's some like that are below it and some. But if it was like a solid shape, like a circle shape, like I would 100% think like, yeah, this is it. We're getting invaded. It's happening.
Did you see this week? China now blames the United States for the origin of COVID-19.
That's wild.
Hitting the mainstream news, China pointed its finger at the United States for originating COVID-19 this past Wednesday, claiming America was attempting to shift the blame after President Trump declared the deadly disease was leaked from a Wuhan lab. The communist regime argued that substantial evidence suggested that COVID might have come from the U.S. earlier than the outbreak in China, while insisting the lab leak theory was extremely unlikely in a white paper. So, newsflash to me, apparently the U.S. started COVID-19.
I still don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. I think you could maybe make a loose argument that the U.S. funded the research and study that ultimately led to what was leaked out of a lab in Wuhan.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way that this is like originated in the U.S. What if it did, though? What if this was a CIA psyop and it really did start in the U.S.?
It's a great question. What do you think? Do you think it would have made any kind of difference in like a lot of the events of our country?
Yes. I'm not sure what
I
though.
was say how so.
I think we wouldn't have locked down the way that we did, because I think it's difficult, because we did the lockdown to slow the spread, right? It was like 2 weeks to slow the spread or something. I forget what the buzzwords were, the slogan at the time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks to slow the spread. And we did that because we thought the virus came from a place not of our own. And so if the virus did come from a place of our own, I would assume it would have spread quicker than it did, right? And so slowing the spread wouldn't have been an option. Maybe. I say this with a lot of question marks. I'm not sure. What do you think? Would the narrative have changed?
I think they would have. I think they would have definitely come at Trump a lot harder, because they were saying how like, oh, a lot of this stuff started under him, and we got this administration. They still blamed him for a lot of the things that weren't even his fault. And so I think if it was, if we did start it here, then I think they would have probably come at him a lot harder. And I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't have won this current election, but I think it would have been a lot harder road to come back from.
Yeah, because at that point you can't point the finger and say, "Hey, someone else caused this." It's more of a, "Yeah, my bad. We messed up." And even if it wasn't his fault, you still kind of have to fall on your own sword as the leader.
Exactly.
Hey, I was leading. I was at the helm when this happened. So
and he couldn't have pulled like a. Again, no offense to Joe Biden, but he couldn't have pulled like a, well, I don't know what happened or what's going on, or had like that dumbfounded look on his face, like he doesn't know what's happening or going on.
you notice no one really talks about him anymore. What's he up to?
I don't know.
What is Joe Biden up to today, right now? He's still alive. Like, he's doing something, right? Him and Jill, they're doing something. Where's Hunter? They were all the rage a couple months ago.
As of April 15th, Biden reemerges on the public stage.
What stage? Was it a stripper stage?
I don't know, but Tuesday in Chicago, Biden waded into one of the most charged political fights set off by President Trump. The first big public speech of Biden's post-presidency focused on protecting Social Security, and comes as many Democrats stage a national day of action against feared cuts to the program, with protests planned across the country. It's an odd spot for someone who was the leader of the free world less than 100 days ago, and for those who have been trying to sort out what to say and do about a man they feel affection for but blame in part for the situation they're in now. Asked by CNN about hearing from former president since January 20, one longtime supporter and donor said only this: "No, thank God." While Trump is still attacking him nearly daily from the White House or Air Force One to an extent that amazes the former president's inner circle, Biden's world has shrunk drastically since he left Oval Office just 3 months ago. Only a few of Biden's most loyal aides stayed with him, mainly those who were the last fighting for him to stay in the presidential race. He's been mostly at home in Delaware, coming back to an office in Washington about once a week, often via his beloved Amtrak. He'll occasionally get spotted around Washington, but his public appearances have been limited to a model United Nations conference in New York, a St. Patrick's Day brunch in Delaware, and accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers at the union's convention in Washington this month. People close to Biden are calling this a period of reconnecting, rebuilding, reflecting with his grandchildren, with old friends, with movies and books he missed, even just with a wife he now gets to see for more than a day than only dinner. He even got to put on a tuxedo for the premiere of the latest Othello on Broadway and greet the cast backstage as star Denzel Washington talked about the honor of his attendance. And so on and so forth. He's putting together thoughts for a book he's hoping to sign a deal for soon. We'd
love to watch him write a book. I'm sure he's going to use a ghostwriter, but
hopefully he didn't write the book, because I don't want to see I, I could not see that, but I mean, he might have some like one of those like I don't know like things that you write at the beginning or something like that, like words from someone or something like that. Could have something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Speaking of people who are going to have a lot more time on their hands, see the big news in the NBA this week?
I did.
Yeah. Spurs head coach Greg Popovich, the NBA's all-time wins leader, is retiring after 29 seasons as the San Antonio Spurs head coach. Dare I say, quite possibly the most legendary coach in NBA history. I'll go on the record and say that. I'm sure maybe someone else is tied for that spot, but in terms of longevity, championship, and playoff victories, and the fact he's been with the same team for 29 seasons, quite impressive. From the Associated Press, it says Greg Popovich stepped down as coach of the San Antonio Spurs on Friday, ending a 3-decade run that saw him lead the team to 5 NBA championships, become the league's all-time wins leader, and earn induction into the Basketball Hall of Fame. While my love and passion for the game remain, I've decided it's time to step away as head coach, Popovich said. He will remain as team president. Mitch Johnson, a Spurs assistant who filled in for Popovich for the season's final 77 games, becomes the team's head coach. Popovich, 76, missed all but 5 games this season after having a stroke at the team's arena on November 2nd. He has not spoken publicly since then, though had addressed his team at least once and released a statement in late March saying that he hoped to return to coaching. Unfortunately, that will not be happening. I'm forever grateful to the wonderful players, coaches, staff, and fans who allowed me to serve them as the Spurs head coach, and am excited for the opportunity to continue to support the organization, community, and city that are so meaningful to me, Greg Popovich said. Popovich's career ends with a record of 1,422 wins and 869 losses, which includes the 77 games, 32 wins, and 45 losses that were coached by Johnson this season. He also won 170 playoff games with the Spurs, the most by any coach with one team, and the third most overall behind Phil Jackson's 229 and Pat Riley's 171. The best there ever was, said Spurs great Manu Ginobili about Greg Popovich last year. And also, don't forget this, Popovich was a 3-time coach of the year. He also led the U.S. team to a gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics and coached 6 Hall of Famers in San Antonio. You had Manu Ginobili, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Dominique Wilkins, and Paul Gasol. He went up against 170 coaches in the NBA, and there have been 303 coaching changes made in the league, including interim moves during the Popovich era. Truly the end of an era for the San Antonio Spurs.
Definitely a very historic career.
Yeah. I know it's difficult for you because you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, and the Mavs have their own set of controversial decisions that have been made in the last year.
People are apparently at nothing because I was looking at nothing's really been like confirmed legitimately, but people are calling for Dirk Nowitzki to take over as the GM.
I think that's the only way you can right the ship on this. He's on a very short list of people that I think could come in as new management, new owner, like new actual day-to-day decision making that I think could right the wrongs.
But they're thinking that they're only doing that because of the new ownership and to like not really have a scapegoat, but like in a way it's like it would hurt his like his persona to people,
Mm.
like, because at the end of the day, like, he'd be the GM, but would he be the GM, or would this be a Jerry Jones, like you only have certain decisions that you're allowed to make. We're going to make the rest of the decisions. You have to listen to what we have to say.
That's a good point.
But we don't know. We don't know. But I'm still on board with Nico Harrison needs to get his behind out of there.
Yeah, it's been hilarious seeing all the Fire Nico chants across everywhere. You see them in like college basketball games, of course, NBA games. You see them in public places. It's
He still defends it to this day, and I'm like, dude, how can you defend that to this day?
I have no idea. There's no way around that one.
There isn't, and it sucks too because the Lakers got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs too by the Timberwolves. So it
Yep.
didn't even matter. It didn't even matter. And people were, I just, at this point, LeBron used to just retire. Like I think that's, I'll be honest, I think that, I don't know exactly, I haven't watched a lot of their games. I don't know how Luka and LeBron have played together. But I think it is time for LeBron to be done. Because you can't have you can't have a superstar like LeBron and a young, I wouldn't even call him a young superstar anymore. Like, he's a superstar, but you can't have Luka Doncic and LeBron James on the same team trying to hog the spotlight, so to speak. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Do you think LeBron is going to go into coaching or management once he
I
steps
hope not.
aside? Like kind of how Michael Jordan went on to do the
Charlotte Hornets.
Charlotte Hornets.
I
Yeah,
hope not. I hope not. I hope dude's made his money. Dude's paid his dues. Leave the game alone. Because I know for a fact that if he does, actually, I'm not even going to say I know for a fact because people are going to fact check me on this, even though the facts don't exist yet. But I know that if he goes into any kind of managerial GM, whatever the case may be, he is going to buy his way into so many positions and use his status to get into so many positions that the game of basketball is not even going to be the game of basketball anymore. I saw something today, someone that I know that posted on Facebook, and apparently there's been like there's been a lot of physicality in this year's playoffs. A lot of physicality that has not been called, like as far fouls, technicals, whatever the case may be. And they referred to the basketball that we watch now as just gladiator ball. Like they don't, they're just, it's you have two versions of basketball. You have the one where you're not allowed to touch people like LeBron. Like, if you even look their direction, they're going to call a foul. Or you have the so much physicality is going to happen and no calls are going to get called either way. And so it's like people are going to get hurt. Again, I don't know all the details as to how the NBA playoffs have played out so far this year. I just don't think it would be beneficial for him, because if he does become a GM or any kind of um, management aspects or coaching or anything like that, his son is going to get, like, I don't know if his son will get special treatment, because he's already not really showing that to his son, because when his son got demoted to the G League, he was kind of like, yeah, you got to go. Like, I'm sorry, but you got to go. Like, so it seemed like he didn't, like, he kind of still has like that tough love aspect. Like, hey, like, I do want to play with you, but you kind of suck in the NBA right now. So I need you to go down here and develop your skills so you could play later on. So I don't know. He could be good. I know he coaches his sons and such, but I just don't. I don't like that aspect. Like, because he's already got too much pull in the NBA, even though people say he doesn't, he does. Because it's literally just like the Shadur Sanders aspect, like his dad, all that kind of stuff. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. So it's like, if he wants to go coach somewhere else where his son's not at, like, I think that should be a thing. Like, if you have family that gets drafted into the same team as you, or you somehow pulled that off to where that was to happen, I don't think you should be allowed to be a GM, coach, or anything with that team where you have your kids that are also playing at.
and that makes sense. It's like that in a lot of companies. If you think about it, you can't usually have immediate family members work on the
Mm-hmm.
same team, department, things like that. You can potentially be in the
Right.
same company, but not have
Right.
that direct manager-employee
Yes.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that was to happen, I'd be okay with it. But I don't think it should be if it's any other way. Like if you're even remotely, if you have anything to do with your kid, you should not be allowed to be the coach or the GM for that team. So again, I mean, I just think though that like when you've kind of been in a profession that long, I don't think I'd want to do coaching or anything. Like I think I would just want to be done. You
Depends how much
know
you love the game, I guess. I'm thinking
that yeah.
like a Tom Brady type, where the game is all they know, that the
Well,
game is what they love.
I mean, he could have come into coaching, but guess what he did? He's like, nah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he came back and he played and he won championships, and he's like, I'm good. I think I'm good. And I'm not. And not everyone has that mentality, but also too, football is different than basketball too. I mean, he very rarely took hits, but I think when you've played in the game for that long, because he played, he got drafted in 2000. He got drafted in 1999 or 2000, I think, right?
His first game was in the 2000 year. So it was the 2000 season.
So he got drafted like 2 years before that because he was under.
He was in the 6th round of the 2000 NFL draft, the 199th overall pick.
Okay, but
he
okay,
didn't start until
it was like halfway through that season, right?
2001. Yeah.
Okay.
After Drew Bledsoe suffered an injury.
That's right. Yeah, because I remember that. So yeah, he got his break there. And so let's just say 2001. When did he officially retire from like Tampa Bay? Like when was he? Was it 2022? 2023?
February 1st, 2023, apparently.
Okay, so he played for 22-ish years, give or take. So
it's crazy.
When you've had a career like that, and then LeBron, he's been in the league since. So he was with the Miami Heat in 2006. I think he got drafted in like 2004, 2005, because he played with Cleveland, Ohio first. And then he
came straight out of high school too.
Yeah. So he was very young. I'm not saying basketball, again, different sports, different injuries, different things like that. Tom Brady never had an injury. That I will say that's kind of what separates Tom Brady and LeBron James too. Tom Brady played like an actual physical sport, and LeBron James got carried off the court for I don't even know if you could even call it a sprained ankle at the time, but got carried off the court by 2 of his teammates. And I'm like, bro, I've seen people that get cracked upside the head, get up and walk off the field. Like, I'm just saying, it's different. And you got to have a different mentality for the different sports. But overall, I think if he did decide to go into coaching, I don't think it'd be a bad idea, especially for when you have coaches, again, like Popovich that are retiring. We haven't seen San Antonio do anything in quite some time because they beat Golden State that year, didn't they? And it was like 2000. It was the year that Golden State didn't go to the championship when they had that run.
I don't know. I've definitely slept since then. So
I know, but I think that was the last year that they actually did anything, and I think they won. But I don't know. I could see it being a thing. Would I be happy about it? I don't know. I have to see how that'd go first. So I don't have a lot of my stuff's depressing again. I'm going to be honest. Couple shootings, unfortunately, and a fatal car crash. A lot of fatalities in the North Texas area.
Yeah.
But one of them happened today. So there was a fatal crash and on US 75, so Highway 75 that goes up through McKinney and parts of Dallas. There was a car accident today. It didn't say how many people had died on that car crash, but they had a bunch of lanes shut down. Let's see here. The multi-vehicle accident, including a motorcycle. One person had died in the crash, and another was taken to the hospital. I'm not going to go too heavy into that. There was one shooting that was under investigation here in the city of Denton. No arrests have been made, but at 6:04 a.m. on April 29th, officers responded to a shooting at an apartment building at the 900 block of Avenue A. That actually is not far from our apartment. The gun had been fired in an apartment unit following a disturbance between 2 men who knew each other. So they attempted life-saving measures on the male victim that was shot, but the victim was later pronounced dead. there was that one, and then there was another shooting in Houston. So apparently someone opened fire. So at least one person dead after 16 people shot at a Houston family party. So apparently it was a whole party. Someone opened fire at the party.
Yeah, party favors, right?
I guess, man. Several people were detained, questioned, and released. And this happened on May. This actually happened today at 12:50 a.m. It says news video from the shooting scene showed officers outside the home were folding chairs and tables that had been set up beneath the carport and a party tent outside. These 2 tables had been overturned. Others had bottles of water and slices of cake on them. So apparently it was like maybe a birthday party, graduation party, something like that.
Yeah, we get together, barbecue.
But at least one person was confirmed dead. But they haven't released any other statements after that. On a much lighter note, apparently a Grapevine High School band is set to open for Post Malone. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did not, no.
But yeah, apparently on May 1st.
Is it part of his tour? I know he's going to...
I think so.
AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be going there, and they get to be involved in the show. It says Grapevine High School Mustang Band has officially accepted an invite to play at the Hype event before Post Malone's concert on May 9th at AT&T Stadium. The band will play custom versions of Post songs in the AT&T parking lot, according to band officials. So, and they literally got news of that while they were like in the class, like preparing to get everything going and stuff like that. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Especially as a high school, they'd be like, yep, this is a thing I did.
Yep. The only other thing that I had, again, try to keep updates as much as I can, but the Carmelo Anthony, they now have released statements talking about the plans for the 500,000 donations. Apparently, the co-founder for the Give Send Go talks use of funds raised for Texas teen. It said he told Fox News Digital that his company has a team that is communicating with the Anthony family about how they plan on using the money once received. They've been very clear that the vast bulk of his money is going to be used for Carmelo's legal defense. Wells said, later adding, they've indicated that some of it will be used to provide them some security, some much needed security. Wells also said, and then also secure location for them to live. They were renting before and they're continuing to rent. So it's like, okay, $3,000 a month for the next year and a half. And then he declined to reveal anything more specific than that. So I would assume that they're also probably still working, but again, I don't know how that's kind of going right now if they are working.
Because I don't think concern was like being harassed at their job.
Exactly. So unless they're able to work from home for their jobs, then that could bode well for them. And I hate saying this, but $500,000 does not, especially in Frisco, Texas, does not go that far.
Yeah.
if you're paying for all those legal fees and then like the rent and your other expenses, not to mention that your son has been moved to an undisclosed location. And if you're having to pay for that, or if it's just protective services for the time being until the court date.
Yeah.
Again, at least they came out and said what the money's being used for, because I know a lot of people were concerned about that. But who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll learn more probably here in the coming weeks. I know it's still... When's the court date? It's like June, July?
June. I think
once we get through May, once we get like towards the end of May, early June, I think that's when things will start to get a little spicy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll only know so much as time progresses. I just figured I'd still provide an update, but at least something came out about that. No, because I know a lot of people were concerned about like, hey, where's all this money at? Where's it going to go? What's going to happen? So far, nothing new about the victim's family. No, they haven't come out and said anything. No statements have been made. I think at this point, it's kind of just like we're awaiting trial. At this point, there might be some things unfolding as time progresses, and who knows? Next week there could be a banger news headline for something, Yeah,
because I imagine if there's anything juicy or worthwhile, they're probably keeping it closer to the chest, both the defendant and just because they don't want stuff to leak out before the court case. They want to make sure it's fair.
Because things can get spun way out of control, and
oh yeah,
that's kind of the a lot of the purpose as to why we decided, took the direction that we took going with the podcast is because people are going to find their information out where they're going to find their information out at. But it's like, if we have the opportunity to present that information based on neutral standing, like news stations, so to speak, or websites and such, so you're not just getting it from one side or the other, you're actually just getting it straight down the middle. Hey, this is what both sides are saying. You can form your own opinion if you want to, but we're just here just providing that information for people. So that's kind of where that's at. Anything else?
No, I was going to say, kind of with that, if you want to keep up with the story, want to keep up with the other stories, go ahead. You're probably watching, listening to this on a certain platform. There's probably a subscribe, a follow button, a thing that has like a thumbs up on it. Go ahead and click all that. That way you'll know when the next one comes out, because we'll keep following the story along. Next week, we'll probably have some more depressing stories. Who knows?
I try not to have depressing stories, but it's like,
I feel like we almost need to do like a drive time segment, because that's kind of stuff out here like on like drive time radio. It's like, hey, traffic's building up on the 75 because of a 5-car pileup crash, and the detour, it's going to be around such and such boulevard, avenue, etc. Take the helicopter today, all that kind of stuff.
I think what I am going to start doing though is because I'll use ChatGPT to kind of break down some news stuff for the week and everything. And I saw the article about the accident today, so I didn't have to look that up. But like, I think if I ever have like 2 or 3 like very, very depressing things, which again, it's sad, it's just unfortunately, we live in a time period, but I think it'll like not to like overshadow it or to overlook it, but I think I'll kind of do like a lightning round. Like,
that could be fun.
I don't want to stick too long on the depressing subjects, but more so just so people are aware, like, hey, this shooting happened. Just essentially,
we can do a happy sandwich. We can lead off with a happy story, and then the meat and the potatoes is the depressing. And then we wrap up with a happy.
Yeah. I like. We'll work on the delivery of it and figure it all out for next week's episode. But don't ever like having depressing endings. But this is just new stuff that's happening. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there who don't like guns, and they're like, well, guns kill. And like, no, it's the people. Like, obviously it's the people that are handling the firearms. I own guns, but you don't see me going around just causing issues and just all that kind of stuff. Not saying anyone caused an issue there, but someone just walking up to a family and just opening fire, like that's, you never know what happened beforehand. Again, but don't like ending on a negative aspect for it. So,
and I will say that sounded like some words of wisdom to me. So with that being said, episode 66 is in the books.
It's in the books.